Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. We are excited to have Joe Allen join us. Joe is the Executive Director of the Jamestown S'Klallam Tribe's Economic Development Administration, and he's also a board member at the Clallam County EDC. He's going to share with us some of the development plans that they have going forward, and then also some things that they've recently finished. Jamestown's pretty much considered the tribe to watch in the state. They just get so much done, and they're really a force to be reckoned with. So just a few, before I have Joe take it over, I'd ask that everybody put their computers on mute so that we don't inadvertently hear any background noise. And if you have any questions, please either raise your hand or put your question in the chat and I will call on you. All right, with that, Joe, thanks for joining us and take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Here, let me get my screen shared up right here. There we go. All right. Yeah, it'd be great. It's great to be here. It's been a while since I've jumped on this call. I always like hearing what's going on around the county, and it's a pleasure to update you all on what I do. Part of what I'm going to talk about too today is what the difference is between the Jamestown Tribe's EDA and some of its other businesses. I used to work for our casino for a little bit over a decade, and since I left, people would ask me, what am I doing now? And it gets easily confused between our health department, our gaming division, and EDA and other tribal operations. So I wanted to break down exactly what we do at the Economic Development Authority first, kind of go over what we've been working on, and then update on some of the projects that the tribe as an overall entity has been working on in the past year and continue to work on. So to kick it off here, to start, the EDA is a political subdivision of the tribe. So I answer, and our employees, we answer to a board of directors that report to the council. So our leader is Jack Grinnell, who's a longtime chairman of the EDA, Rochelle Blankenship, who is also on the tribal council, Matt Adams, who's been on the board for over 20 years, I believe, Latricia Suggs, who's also on the Port Angeles, the city of Port Angeles council, and then Lana Kerr, another Jamestown citizen that also works with Cedar Greens as the chairperson there. So it's a great board to work with, and it's a lot of fun over there. And so, right, to kind of summarize you before I get off into what our entities are, what little businesses we oversee, first to kind of just give a once-over that I don't have any purview over any of the gaming entities. Jamestown's gaming enterprise sector has the casino, the hotel, the longhouse market, and the golf course operations. Those are separated. They answer to their own board. The health division is its own separate entity, dental clinic, healing center, and of course our main family center. And then we've got things like Jamestown Seafood and a couple other smaller businesses that just answer to tribal operations directly and not through the Economic Development Authority. So it's our job to create new businesses, try to push them out into the world so they're self-sustaining. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the entities that are now on their own. We give some services to just advisory and financial services to these entities that we kind of birthed in the past few years or so. So with that, I'll continue on to a little bit about each one of the businesses that we oversee at the EDA. The first is Carlsberg Self-Storage.
Hey, Joe.
Yep.
Joe, I don't know if you want to change the presentation so that it shows in the full screen. We're seeing your next slide and notes as well.
Oh.
Maybe display settings?
I don't know.
Display settings and then swap the view.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for a number of presentations. Nobody's ever said anything. Now I'm wondering how long that's been happening for.
I was just worried if you had notes in there, that might be something you didn't.
No, just the next slide. But yeah, I appreciate that. It's good to know. All right. Well, Carlsberg self-storage. Yeah, it's a storage unit operation off of Carlsberg Road on the Carlsberg Loop Road back in the industrial area back there. We've had that for a number of years. It also has some RV parking. If anybody knows anything about storage around this county, I mean, it gets eaten up. So, I mean, we're at capacity every month. Once a unit drops off, we've got people waiting in line to get into the next storage unit. So we decided to purchase a couple lots adjacent to that operation to expand. And that's something that we're in the process of now, moving our headquarters to the old Schwann's building. We're developing that to get into offices and connections and all that, and clearing a vacant lot that's just down the road across from the end of Carlsberg self-storage. So our developments there are probably gonna where we got a conditional use permit application going into the county at this point for our development and those for the expansion of that enterprise there. It's a pretty self-sustaining business, and it's got low overhead, and it's been working out for the tribe for quite some time. And then the future developments are really it's more heated self-storage. We looked at cold storage for a while, but just couldn't find enough use for it in the county at what we'd be able to offer, at least for size and capability. And then for future expansion of RV storage, we want to put indoor big units in there so it'll be protected from the elements. The next entity is Jamestown Networks. It's an internet service provider that we work with NOAANet in order to provide government and commercial services to those entities. A lot of K-12s, libraries throughout the state of Washington. We've had a great relationship with NOAANet since we started this off, and we look forward to continuing that and providing those services as needed. It's something that helps out another low overhead enterprise that helps the tribe just get continuous kind of almost passive income for those services. And we continue to expand on capacity and try to extend new and current contracts as well with our entities or with our partners there, that is. Another subdivision of Jamestown Networks is Jamestown Towers. We have our own tower in Blinn now, which has been up for a few years, I believe. And it has Verizon, T-Mobile, and emergency services connected to it currently. And we are getting Dish put out there next, and then followed by that, we're going to be working to get to AT&T. Sometimes it's difficult to work with these large communications companies. They just see our little blip on the map, and we want to keep on chirping until we get a better signal. It's great to have a signal of Verizon down there in Blinn because I grew up down there opposite Cardo, and I know there's no service up there. It was even if you're driving through, listen to something on your phone, it would cut out for a couple minutes. So it's great to have that there. And with that, we started to branch out to other tribes and ask if we could help them with their tower needs, whether it's wireless like we're using, or a fixed wireless network too, which is what project we work with the Spokane tribe and are about to finish up here this month. They have 9 towers across their reservation now to connect them. There's a funding entity, and NTIA broadband funding that I know many of you are aware of, that we applied for, and that a lot of tribes have applied for, and there's tribal specific pockets for that. And it's been over a year since we applied. Many tribes have applied, and still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen there. So we're looking forward to seeing if we can help more tribes up building towers if they need that, or and also just figuring out how we can connect our checkerboard reservation with the fiber network that we want to provide.
So, Joe,
yes.
Do you think any of the tribes in our county or Jefferson might have any interest in additional cell towers?
I haven't spoken to each tribe. They've all kind of put their projects into the hat for the NTIA funding. I think at this point, everybody's just kind of waiting to hear. People want to hear yes or no. There's like $3 billion in this tribal pocket of money. So it'll be interesting to see how far it goes, because Alaska tribes like Navajo, Plains tribes that have zero connectivity and a lot of land to cover. So when small tribes in Washington applies, it'll be interesting to see what we get awarded. But yeah, my guess is they will need some sort of service, whether or not they want to reach out to somebody specific themselves, or we can help facilitate that as well. So we're just here to help. Sometimes it's easier to work through another tribal entity than it is with other vendors. So
got it. So how many people are in that that group, Jamestown Towers? Do you contract it all out, or
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So we have basically a project manager. My predecessor, Kyle Johnson, is the one that kicked that off, and when he stepped down from the position that I currently hold, he took over this sector of our business. So it was just him coordinating with the entities that he knew in order to make Spokane that whole project work. So there's a group of about 6 different vendors that they work with in order to coordinate that, along with Spokane, who's had some leadership changes during this whole process, which has kind of slowed it down too. They also have had horrible wildfires and some other accidents as well. But it's just right now 1 employee for that specific division.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Moving on from Jamestown Networks, our newest venture is Jamestown Property Management. Since the tribe acquired the land and properties in downtown S'Klallam, we took over the management duties of that all the business operations there. So there's 10 total offices. We're happy to say that we are now or about to be 100% at capacity there. We had 2 vacancies and we're filling that up. And it's great to have a piece downtown and be able to work on developing that land and dressing that up. So the tribe owns these entities, and the EDA operates just as managers and takes a fee for those operations, or for managing the properties. And we work with Landmark as well too for applications, and our availability is on their website as well for office spaces. We also purchased that, which was separate from the Trading Plaza purchase, the 103 West Cedar building. It was an old foot doctor, I believe, is the last person that was in there. We're going to end up taking that building down as a part of our parking lot redesign. We're kind of going over those design ideas right now to figure out what fits best. We want to make that area more secure. There's hardly any lighting there. We want to put surveillance up, take the power, put it underneath the ground. A lot of work that we want to do to make that a little bit nicer and add kind of this nice touch to those buildings, give it a refresh for some signs, some landscaping, and all that. So obviously that's a tribal decision I work with the tribal operations, and we're really looking forward to developing that and making that a little bit nicer as we look at Rice Fergus Miller's designs for that area. Basically, we're looking at a community-oriented type of feel, something that's safe for people to walk through, safe walking spaces, and all of that. So happy we got our downtown properties there. Our vacation rentals is something else we started up that are close to our tribal amenities. So the first one we've opened up is now at the golf course. And we're working on development off of Taylor Cutoff it's starting off with 1 house, but it will most likely have some tiny homes or additional mother-in-law rental spaces as well. And as we get into housing, there's a few projects that we want to get into eventually, and then JPM will be managing those entities as well, those houses. See here. So we'll move on to some of the businesses that the EDA kind of helped jumpstart. The first is Cedar Greens, our cannabis business down there in Blinn, next to the Longhouse Market and Casino. Recreational medical cannabis. We have nurse consultants, pharmacy consultants that come in a couple times a week to help with people that need cannabis for their medical needs, and show them what the benefits are for topicals and all the different products that cannabis helps with in aiding pain or whatever you need it for. We've tried a white label product, which is basically a way of getting a cheaper product out to the consumer, much like Safeway does with Safeway Select sodas. It's the same idea with white label cannabis, and we have our Blend Buds brand that we distribute there as well. We're all working together to try to fund the growth of Cedar Greens, and future projects include a grow operation that we're looking to get into, and possibly a second store on one of our other parcels. These are projects that are a couple years out. Building costs have obviously kind of crippled those plans for the current the quick outlook, but we're looking forward to going forward with that as well, which has been pretty successful for us. The next is Jamestown Capital. This is now, well, this is a CDFI that we started about 2.5 years ago. It's Johanna Barty, and she has done a great job jumpstarting this up. We've got some funds that we help out with tribal citizens in need, usually with poor credit, that whether or not they need some gap loans in between what they're purchasing for their homes, or starting up a fishing boat and business, or just to get a car to drive to work, those types of things. We moved her into the Trading Plaza location, which is great to have a storefront property. So once we do get certified and get access to more capital, we'll be able to fund outside of the tribal citizens and start to get larger projects, and really developing more around the county and helping assist with those that need it. I know most CDFIs don't do loans under 50,000 right now. We're just doing small loans for citizens as we get started. So JSC Capital has been a fun project, and looking forward to more progress there. Let's see here. So Jamestown Excavating is a great business that started off kind of as an EDA project, and worked together with the EDA as it went through some growth and transition a few years back, and now it's fully separated with JKT Development. And as I was going to talk about some of the tribal projects, they kind of go hand in hand with Jamestown Excavating. They've been working pretty much 85% on tribal projects. We've got so many developments that have been going on, and they've been an integral part of jumpstarting those by clearing out and aiding in the construction of our projects. But first, I'll talk that our newest subdivision of JKT Development is Jamestown Land Survey. Our guy is his name is Toby. He's jumped on board with us. I think it was early March, and to get a survey done, sometimes it can take forever. So we figured, why not hire one? But he's been great. He's been busy as soon as we really got him on board. I think he started working the first week. We started getting calls in to get some surveys done. So we're happy to have that as we look to expand JAX's and JKT Development's bandwidth, and how they can grow as a construction entity. But some of the projects they've been working on here is the healing clinic that is just opened up, clearing that out off of 9th, the Audubon River Center down there off of Hendricks down by the river. Beautiful building down there. The Dance Plaza is the kind of like the main area in between our two admin buildings down in Blint, where the totem poles were sitting that were connected. We needed to adjust that landscaping there, so they've helped us really with that whole project, clearing that out and rebuilding what we need. There's gonna be some playgrounds and some other features down there that'll be very beautiful once it gets completed here. We're looking that to be completed, I believe, September to October. They've also helped clear out the old library in place for our new library right down there by the main campus as well. We're looking forward to that project because it's going to be a fully interactive experience, digital, kind of historical, kind of create your own, not creating your own story, but watch your own story as you hear through the different tales and read through all the different historical events that Jamestown has been throughout the many years. And we're looking forward to having that opened up. And then one of the new projects too, we've been working with Swim Little League Park off of Silverhorn just to clear out that parking lot. If you've ever been in there, it's pretty bumpy, and we want to clear that out, make it nice. and looking forward to that. I mean, it's been a difficult parking lot to drive through since I played Little League, honestly. So, and we're really happy to be a part of that, and continue to work on other projects around the community with Jamestown Excavating to help clear out all of those whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. So I have a question about this. I mean, is it possible that this might become more a vertically a vertical business that would be a general contractor that could take on commercial projects as a 8A, SBA 8A certified business, and then you could go after some of the contracts that all of the cities and county and library and school districts that they all pursue, or that they
yeah, they bid on projects, yeah, from commercial, residential, everything really. It's just we prioritize the travel projects because it's something that we want to get done. But Lon and his team are great. Lon Swear is the CEO. Him and his team are constantly looking at what the bids are out there in our community, city, county, all of that. And it comes down to capacity and planning. We're at a period right now where we have some open time to complete some projects, but in the fall we're booked solid through the end of the year, I believe. But they keep active on that, and they want to expand their their bandwidth into more commercial and non-tribal entities. But right now we've just been so caught up in our own developments that they really haven't had the capacity to. We want to grow more, but it's just there aren't really that many skilled operators in the area that Lon can get on board in order to keep on expanding. And so we've been advertising for those positions for, God, it's been over a year that we've been trying to get another one on board, and just kind of continue the search there as we want to expand and get more laborers underneath another operator, basically.
So I know the Dungeness River Nature Center, when it was redone, Jamestown acted as its own GC. Was it Jamestown Excavating that acted as the GC there, or another entity within the tribe?
I believe that was underneath tribal operations. I think Annette Nessie was the last one to handle that. That was, she left the tribe. That was her last project to manage.
Okay. And so Jamestown Excavating is really just solely an excavation company right now, but you are looking at potentially expanding it to do manage larger projects beyond just excavating?
Yeah, that's the goal. They're looking at different ways to expand and what works best. They've even gotten into trying to figure out if getting into pits is the right move for them to try to move in that direction. There's a couple different ways that Lon's looked at expanding and getting into new territory. So that's something that we've tasked him with, as I sit on that board as well. So yeah, We're looking forward to progress there. But again, it comes down to what he can handle with the staff that he has at this point. So.
Are you finding that engineering support is a challenge? I know there's two new engineers in town, in the county. Has that been something that is a challenge, or are you able to get that support fairly easily?
So we've had that support, as far as I know, everything that I've worked on pretty easily. We have a lot of the same companies we work with on all of these projects. We've got a lot of long-standing relationships with engineers, designers, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know Rice Ferguson Miller is your architect you usually work with. And I see Ron has added to the chat. And so, but is it usually Zenovic that you guys work with, or is it somebody else out of the area?
I don't know who Zenovic is. So a lot of this is specific to what Lon works on too, as far as knowing those people. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and Ron says taking on larger projects is restricted by operational capacity, for example, equipment and staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, equipment is expensive. All right, well, I've just got one more slide here talking about some of the upcoming EDA projects. These are all a little bit ways down the road, but things we're talking about, we're not even in pre-development in these projects, but these are things that we've set our goals on, and we're looking to develop these different projects. So first off, housing is something that's obviously a need in the entire county, and I think that everybody in any position that is related to is trying to help this get solved. So we're no different at Jamestown. We're sectoring off, of course, what types of housing we want to take care of, and then prioritizing that to what we can where we can put these projects too. So I mean, from single family homes to workforce homes to low income homes that have different types of financing and ceilings for wages, and then of course through our social services, elder care, and transitionary housing as well. So I mean, that's 5 different sectors right there that we want to all work on separately, and use different parcels across our land through the county, and find the right spot for each, working with the county, cities, and figuring out where we can work together to kind of put these things. So we've got a couple of plans in place as far as what we want where, and we're just finalizing that within the tribe. Also, the EDA is going to be taking on some of the non-tribal housing as a part of a JPM expansion for the housing that the tribe has for its employees, and other friends and family. So there's that. There's the travel station longhouse, which is like a second version of a longhouse, where we'll have high-speed pumps for larger vehicles, whether it's boats, big rigs, you name it. We're going to use some land to have enough space for them to turn around and be comfortable with, because right now those vehicles can't comfortably get into where the longhouse is. We want to take care of them, of course, normal consumer cars, and then offer electrical charging stations at this point, and then really throughout all of our properties. EVs are a big part of progress now, and obviously, with many government leaders pushing towards going all EV in the next 10 to 15 years, we want to make sure that we are prepared for that at Jamestown. And when people want to stop, we'll have those charging units for them to use. This would also include a version of a C-store too, similar to the longhouse, with all the amenities that come with that. And then also adjacent there, we're looking at getting into a luxury glamping cabin RV park, using that space for another entertainment tourist destination. We're looking forward to that. We've just kind of got some broad designs on both of those projects as we wait for that land to turn into trust. And then we've been active in trying to find projects in renewable energy. I went up to a couple of our council members to Alaska to get part of a tribal climate change camp to really figure out what we can do as tribes to prioritize energy efficiency and just being resilient for climate change, and adapting to what we should be doing to mitigate our footprint, our carbon footprint, and trying to achieve carbon neutral status. So part of that is in renewables, and we want to see if whether solar is a viable option. Is it wind? We worked with Thor and Minocarbon trying to figure out a biochar project with them. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the same vision, but it's still something that we're interested in and currently engaging with other people, Washington State University, PNNL, and trying to figure out how we can best aid and maybe start up a small business to get a project like this going that would be beneficial to the community and climate change at large. Well, that's about it for what I have for the presentation. Again, I kind of covered most of the projects that the tribe's been doing in the past year. Jerry and the team over at Seven Cedars have been working on developing the land right on the golf course down below the clubhouse, where they're looking to have some RV spots, some tiny homes, some vacation rentals as they start up their vacation rentals as well. Because as we have one at the EDA, the casino operation is offering a couple as well to help aid in just additional spots for people to stay that when our hotel gets booked up, especially because the Friday, Saturdays is tough to get a room in there. So we want to add different options for our guests, and then obviously accommodate our golf course too. Those events sometimes just don't coincide with casino events. So I can't think of anything else, but I'm sure if people have questions, I can address any other projects. So.
Okay, great. I saw that Darlene asked a question in the chat. I don't know if everybody heard. Darlene, do you want to ask your question?
I think it's been answered. Diamond Point Highway 101, where the RV glamping cabin luxury park would be sited. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I've heard about Jamestown working on expanding childcare.
Yeah. Well,
and is that so? A couple things about that. It sounds like that wouldn't fall under your umbrella, but maybe under another entity. And would that be open to non-tribal members, children, or non-tribal employees' children?
Great question. So what the EDA's involvement in a project like that might just be helping with the pre-development and design options, and just working with social services until they can really start to get into the operations of what they want to achieve there as who they're going to serve and all that. But the general idea at this point is to take care, of course, of our citizens first, and our employees, as with more of a benefit to work for us. You know, childcare is difficult to turn a profit on, especially if you want to do it right. You know, get their top quality care and all the amenities that keep kids engaged and busy and enjoy their time there, as well as the employees. I mean, because that's, I hear, a big part of the problem is holding on to employees at those facilities. So yeah, it's a long-term plan for us. We've purchased some land and trying to figure out which spot is best again for that. And there's two different elements to it. You know, it's childcare for, for families that need that as they go to work, and then it's after school programs too that to keep kids engaged as their parents are still working, in the middle school, high school years, and really kind of building we want to kind of get like a gym and some activities and things of that nature. So it would be first prioritized for tribal citizens and employees' children. But then if there's open space, I imagine we probably would go to the public after that. But that's thinking way ahead, and also different possibilities for how they want to operate too from social service standpoints.
Well, great. Our EDC has been really involved with childcare. We just finished up a program where we created 80 new child care slots across the county by buying them equipment that enabled them to grow their slots. So we were really excited to see that happen. But I imagine that a lot of your tribal members and employees currently have their kids at different programs. And if they then move over to your program, child care program, that'll open up those slots there for others that are looking for childcare. Do you have any expected timeline for that?
It would just be an estimate at this point. I mean, 5 years is a good guess, but this is this land that we haven't currently decided on which piece to go with, but we have purchased something recently. So yeah, I can't give you a specific time at this point. And then same thing goes with housing too. It all takes time, and with development and materials and just getting things moving. So
got it. Yep, I know it takes a lot of time. So I don't see other questions in the chat. I know that, oh, well, here we go. Lowell has a question. Lowell?
Proposed traffic roundabout in Blinn. Yeah, that's something we've been looking to get. I mean, traffic can be difficult out there past where the Longhouse pullout is. If you ever try to take a left out of there going back towards Swim, on a busy 5 o'clock time, it's very difficult, and you're hanging out there sometimes, much similar to where it is at Diamond Point, when you're turning onto that road, you're kind of left out there in the middle as all this traffic is zooming by you. So we're working on getting roundabouts and traffic solutions there. But we have a traffic manager, new one, who's worked in the community for a long time, Wendy. I forget her last name right now. She's been working with DOT and looking at funding opportunities for those projects. So,
Got it. Okay. Let's see. Does
Yes.
anyone else have any questions for Joe? Let's see, Ron.
Ron just answered too that it's been designed and approved by DOT, but we haven't vetted it with the community yet.
Got it. So, and that's the roundabout for at
By
the
the Longhouse.
Longhouse? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another part that we're trying to work on is we want to get access from the ODT, the trail over to the hotel side, because it's dangerous as people try to cross 101 there too.
Mhm. Mhm.
So this is,
Yeah, there it is.
Go ahead, Kay.
and this is Kay. I'm out at Diamond Point, and wondering if you could speak to your plans for entrance and egress from the 101 for the new development.
Yeah, that intersection needs to be adjusted. It needs to be fixed. In fact, it needs to be fixed now. Like I mentioned before, it's a difficult one to turn on and to get onto either direction. So once that project kicks off, and we get into pre-development and start to get into design, that's what Wendy is working on too, is fixing that and making it more comfortable for everybody at that intersection. So, I mean, safety is a big part there, especially as we have more and more vehicles coming down that road, and we add to that. We want to make it safe as possible.
Okay. Thanks. And I see Mike Skinner has comment question. Mike?
I guess I can actually talk. Hey, thanks, Colleen. Joe, great presentation. You guys are doing so many things. We had funding from the USDA on a regional food partnership program looking at how we could improve the seafood sector. And we started last year in Westport, Tahola, and La Push, and worked closely with the Quinault tribe and the Quileute tribe to see what can be done, systems change to make fishing work better for smallholders, small owner on board fish harvesters and shellfish harvesters and anything having to do with working in the water, basically. And we are waiting to see if we get funding to expand that program to include the North and Clallam and Jefferson County, and hope to have opportunities to work with people in your community. And I just wondered if what's going on at Jamestown S'Klallam around the seafood sector and any interest in developing that sector for the benefit of people in the tribe as well as people in the general community.
Yeah, great question. I'm not too involved on the seafood side. After Kurt Grinnell's passing, Jim Parsons took over the leadership over there. And in the past year, he's kind of been piecing together what Kurt's vision was, what he was working on. It was all kind of in Kurt's head. So every once in a while, Jim has said, he'll just get a random phone call from somebody that Kurt was working on that he had no idea. So it's been a process for him to really get a handle on that operation and where he wants to go. So I'm not exactly sure about all of his what his broader vision is, but it's always about expanding bandwidth in shellfish and in finfish for all those purposes. So, but yeah, I encourage you to reach out to Jim Parsons to get all those specific answers or questions answered. Sorry.
All right. Kevin, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hey Joe, are you anticipating any changes of how transit serves the area in the future from what we're doing now with all the changes?
Yeah, I'm not specifically, as we we're working together in a committee for regards with climate change and carbon efficiency and all that. And part of that is transportation. And we're going to try to survey both our citizens and our employees to figure out what type of public transit would you take if it was available, and try to figure out how we can coordinate that with you all, and or provide rideshare services. As we look at our carbon footprint, is majority because of the travel between home and work with gas emissions. So expanding transit needs currently is not something that we have a need for, or a plan that we would want to engage with, but overall in the future, it's something that we would possibly want to increase frequency. And as housing developments obviously start to increase in the next years, we'll probably end up expanding the need there as well. Because a couple of the developments will be in the Blinn area, is what we're kind of thinking at this point.
Perfect. Okay, let's keep this in the loop.
Definitely. Thank you.
Great. And let's see, Kay, did you have something else?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to take a minute to thank Jamestown folks that participated in the July 1st. We had a workforce development CTE open house and a forum, and we had great community turnout. And we were really pleased that Mitch Kuntz from the Jamestown EDC Talent Acquisition came, and we had Haley Grawl, who was representing Jamestown Hospitality. And it was really neat to hear that Mitch was a Sequim High School graduate, and he's back here in our workforce. So it was nice to have the participation. Wanted to thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the things we want to work on as economic development is encouraging our tribal citizens and to get educated but come back. We wanted more developments here and more progress here, and we love to see it. Myself, same way. It took me about 10 years to come back, but I'm glad I did. So
Great. Ron, you put a couple things in the chat. Anything you want to share about specifically seafood? What does that timeline look like?
Well, Joe's done a great job of summarizing. You can see how many projects that are under his responsibility. He's not bored on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, the seafood is separate. Joe's right about that. We created a partnership with cooked seafood, excuse me, out of New Brunswick. We call it Salish Fish. And we just had a big visit yesterday up at Hope Island project with a number of legislators, including ours here in 24th district. So our intent is to take over the permit in Port Angeles Harbor. We have a second project that we want to engage after it. Mostly we're thinking Greenpoint. That was one that was being pursued before. So that project is moving forward. It's very different than the original one, which is with Atlantic salmon that is no longer legal in Washington waters. So we're targeting steelhead and sable fish. That's what's on the other operations now, and Rich Passage and Hope and Cypress Island, et cetera. So and then we've been in numerous conversations with the port because we would like to build a processing plant. So going to your comment about vertical in the seafood, definitely in the vertical operation. So that's where that's at as well. Salish fish will be both fin fish, shellfish. So our oyster gooey duck operations, including our hatcheries at Point Whitney and Kona Island, they will all be under that umbrella. That will be separate from Joe's EDA operation and some of our other businesses. So Joe did a great job of summarizing the different projects we have, and we're very excited about it. When you have a lot of projects on the burner, it's just a matter of prioritizing. So that's where the tribe is with its businesses, and which is inclusive of Joe and the EDA operations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty impressive how many different projects you're working on. How many projects are there? You haven't added it up?
There's a lot. Joe had touched on healthcare. Even though healthcare is under the services of Jamestown governmental umbrella, now that we are expanding We just closed the deal on the land next to our health clinic that will be moving our dental clinic from the Blinn site into S'Klallam. We expect to and minimize, at a minimum, double it, but we're thinking more closer to tripling the size of our dental facility. We have the only a child dentist in the peninsula, and we're bringing another one on board. So we need more capacity. And then the health clinic, and then now we're going to be designing the inpatient, I call the inpatient that complements the outpatient facility. So healthcare is a big issue. So it's not just OMC, but what we're doing is in collaboration with OMC to complement what OMC services do provide to the peninsula. And I will overspill with Susie Ames. You know, we're very supportive of the nursing program up at Peninsula College because of the need for that particular profession to continue to advance the healthcare services on the peninsula. So that will have its own operation. We're reshaping how it's going to be structured because it's complicated in terms of the financial management of those operations.
All right, great. Thank you. Let's see. Rebecca had a question. Rebecca?
Good morning. I was just wondering, with all those projects, how many staff do you have? How many do you employ?
It's just me. No, it's it changes from each, and so my partner really I work a lot with. Well, there's two of them. It's Hawk Cornell. Jack's son is our financial director, who does a lot of the operational work too. He's really engaged in property management and really aiding Jamestown Excavating and Cedar Greens in financial decisions. And then I have an operations manager, Sam Benedict, who's been on board for a couple of years now. She's great. And then each entity that I've described, I think we've got Carlsberg Self-Storage that has 2 additional employees. The Jamestown Networks has another 2. Property management, we're looking to add another FTE here. And then Jamestown Excavating's got around 40 to 45 employees. Cedar Greens, I believe, has 30. But when we come on to future projects, each one's going to take its own additional overhead or needs, FTEs. But for most part, that we'll be working with is like when we create one of these new, you know, whether it's housing development or the RV park or this longhouse part 2, it'll be hiring a new manager or director for that specific business, and them hiring out for what they need in the future. But we just work in really together with the tribe. So like people like Luke Sveta Strong, Ron Solting with Jessica, and everybody else down the way that can help us out, even from the gaming side with Jerry and his team too. So but the EDA specifically only directly employs I have like 7 employees underneath me.
Got it. So I see Ron put in the chat, total for Jamestown and our business is over 900 now. So that puts you as the 2nd largest employer in the county after OMC. Pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, the gaming operation with hotel and everything, that's I think about 600, and the government operations is about 300. So yeah, together over 900. So we're gonna keep growing too. So we're going for you, OMC.
So I'm wondering, and maybe this is a question for Ron. You know, the number of employees you have is immense. Your tribal population isn't as large relative to other tribes in our county. How much of your growth has been due to the revenues that come from the casino that have, you know, I've heard from a lot of tribes, if you're lucky enough to be in a location where people use the tribal casino, then that becomes a big revenue generator for that tribe. And if you're out on the coast, you know, the Quileute tribe is an example, or Ho tribe, they don't have that revenue generation opportunity. Would you characterize it as a big driving factor, or has it been more, no, it's maybe half that and half just the culture and the intention of Jamestown?
Well, I would, it's a little misleading for the general public. Large operations like Tulalip and Puyallup and Muckleshoot or Kalispell, ALNA down by La Center, Vancouver area, they generate pretty substantial revenue for the tribal operations. In Jamestown in the 90s and the early 2000s, a big chunk of our unrestricted revenue did come from the casino resort operations. But today they're no longer the larger contributor to our operation because of our success in diversifying our economic portfolio. So Joe's operation is expand businesses, but it expands revenue that they send over to the tribe for essential services. So housing and education and healthcare and so forth, all those things that we do for youth and cultural programs, that's the way it has been structured. But when you reference tribes like Makah, Hole, Quileute, Showwater, who are in markets where you couldn't do casinos, they do benefit from the gaming industry because the way we structured our compacts in Washington State is very unique. We only allow each tribe to have a certain allocation of what we call the Class 3 machines, which what's mostly what you see in the property. There are other machines called Class 2. Joe knows these really well since he worked in the industry. But so the tribes that need more machines have to lease from the tribes that don't have markets, Makah, Quileute, et cetera. They lease to those tribes on a per day rate. And so they generate a fair amount of unrestricted revenue off the industry so that the game industry would be fair to all 29 tribes, regardless of whether you have a strong market or not.
Well,
It
that's
works
really
for table games too as well. So
That's correct.
So how is it across the board? Like let's say if Muckleshoot has a lot of players using one of their machines or tables, and if I'm the Ho tribe, do I make more money off of one casino's tables versus another, like Lower Elwha, that may not get as many players coming to their casino?
Well, each tribe will negotiate a contract with a contracting tribe, Muckleshoot or Tulalip, et cetera. They will vary in terms of the daily rate. It's always set as a daily rate, and so it's regardless of the performance of a machine. So that the different machines perform in a different way because of the attractiveness of the patrons. So some machines will produce X number of dollars per day. Some machines will produce Y. They just vary. And Joe and their operation, when Joe worked for the casino, that's what they did, is they tracked the machines. So it has nothing to do with what kind of revenue that the non-gaming tribes get. They get a set rate per day, and they know what the number is, so they can always budget that number based on the number of leased machines.
Got it.
And this adds to their total number too. So it's not like you walk into Tulalip and then you say, oh, and then the one dedicated terminal is like from the Makah, it's just, so that's why you wouldn't be able to base it off of performance on per machine because it isn't dedicated for each terminal like that. Just
Got it.
Increased number of that they can use.
So I've got one last question, Joe. How would you describe the job that you had at the casino versus EDA? What's the greatest difference and which one do you like more?
Well, they're completely different animals. As the casino operations manager, you're dealing with one entity, one business, and you're on the front lines more or less and handling problems and putting out fires as they happen on a casino floor. And you can imagine the weird things that I've seen over, I started working in casinos at 20 years old. I started 17 years and I worked over at Nooksack River Casino, and then I worked for Lummi Nation for about 5 years as well too. And then back here about 12, 13 years ago. So, the casino world is a lot of fun. It's also a lot of stress. It's nonstop. My phone will be ringing till 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, depending on what was going on, especially on the weekends. So it kept you engaged there, but this job has just such a larger bandwidth that just, I mean, it goes across almost any sector you can think of business and development. And so this is much more engaging for me, and it keeps me really involved on the government side of things too, which I really enjoy, and been a part of the tribe obviously for a long time. And it's just really great to be part of the government operations and expanding our current economic portfolio, which is a goal of mine and Hawk Grinnell's too, as we want to develop as much income for the tribe as possible to aid our citizens in what we do. So it feels like I'm helping out a little bit more in this new position. I do always have a soft spot in my heart for the casino business because that's something I've known for a long time. But yeah, they're completely different worlds. I do like how this one primarily shuts down at 5 o'clock, but you know, I like them both, and I'm really just excited to keep on to really seeing through some of these projects and needs in the community for both the Clallam County and our tribal needs as well. So yeah, I'm happy to work with you and to know all of you and the different meetings that we've had in the committees. Part of my position is also I'm on a little bit over half a dozen boards, you know, NODC, EDC, Maritime Blue, Washington STEM, or West Sound STEM, and a couple others. So it's just great to be engaged in the community and trying to find out new solutions for the problems that we all face. So,
Well, terrific. And thank you so much for joining us today. We did hit 9 o'clock. So just fascinating information, and what you guys do is really impressive and an important factor, obviously, for our economy in our county. So thank you for joining us.
thanks for having me. It's been great. Appreciate it.